Hey guys, nothing important here, and today I'm here to give you part 4 of my power scaling series. So if you've been on my channel for the last few years, then you already know that I made prior videos on the topic. So first I made a video on power scaling itself, then I made a video on hacks, then I made a video on what the actual scaling itself was for the tier system, and then I made another video on what the speed system was. So, I made all these videos a long time ago. And to this day, I still get questions on how to power scale stuff. So today, I decided to go ahead and make part 4 of the series, which I guess is how to have consistent power scaling. I don't know, it depends on what's going to be, the title of the video. Anyway, so, I'll go ahead and get into the video now. So, first, let me explain what's going on here. So, a lot of people, you'll normally see people getting into like a lot of debates. It could be Goku versus Superman. It could be Hal Jordan versus Alien X. It could be Sans versus Hercule. It could be I don't know, Sans versus I don't know, Annoying Dog or Toby, whatever that character is. It could be Goku versus Vegeta. It could be Naruto versus Luffy. It could be it could be like a lot of topics. You probably heard of one of those topics before, either because it's a topic on my channel or because someone else talked about it. I don't know. Anyway, so let me explain. So when we get into scaling fiction, people just think there's power scaling and there's a series. Let me put it to you this way. You're wrong. Utterly and completely wrong. Like, when you have Superman, people are like, okay, well, he has universal feet, so he's a universe destroyer. Or he has solar system feet, so he's a solar system destroyer. So here's the thing. There's more to it than just that. Let me explain. So, when we talk about power scaling, we're actually talking about 4 or 5 concepts at the same time when we discuss power scaling. Power scaling itself is simply the explanation of how strong a character or a set of characters are, or a cosmological space is, all the lore associated with that concept or concepts, and then how that would, and then we have to map that onto, power scaling. So, say we took Superman and we said he's able to destroy the universe. Okay, here's what we'd have to do in order to get from that to Superman can destroy the universe. So, first, we have to take DC, and then we have to find the consistency for it. Consistency for DC is that there's a lot of comics, there's a lot of writers for different comics, and there's editors for comics. So, you have a lot of comic writers who would go and write the comics, and that's then given to the editors who have to put all those comics together, edit them, make sure they don't contradict too horribly with each other, and then they're able to finally publish it as media. So in DC's case, the editor has all the power here, or at least has a lot of the power here. It depends on what you take in terms of author statements. But they have to go through the editor in order for those statements to be valid. Or the editor has to support those statements with a similar statement of their own. That would be how you'd be able to support an author statement for, say, DC. So now we know that there's a lot of comic writers, but there's a few editors, and that the editors have most of the power here. So now let's take that and let's map that onto power scaling. So power scaling is a metric in which we're able to assign a form of consistency to specific characters, a cosmological structure, gears such as weapons, and then statistics such as durability or speed, and then hacks powers or abilities. We're able to take power scaling and apply all these concepts to say DC to explain that Superman is multi-solar system to universal. So let me get into versions of power scaling here. So first off, you have attack potency. Attack potency is the literal metric itself. It's the literal value itself. If you're able to destroy 2 tons, or you're able to output 2 tons of energy, you're a building level character. In terms of raw attack potency, if we have a character being able to just utterly and completely just delete buildings with 1 or 2 punches, that's the equivalent of deleting 2 tons worth of space, or building, or whatever metric you want to use. Attack potency would be the actual metric itself. It'd be what we'd calculate and the result that we'd find in the calculation. Striking strength is the metric that we'd use for specifically strikes. We wouldn't be saying that this character has a striking strength of 2 tons. That's for attack potency. No, what we're here to say is that we have the attack potency of one character, which is, say, 2 tons, which is building level. Now let's map that on to striking strength. We're able to see that this building destroyer is able to punch another building destroyer. And this building destroyer is not even being phased whatsoever by this dude that can output 2 tons of energy. So we know that the person who's being hit with the guy with the 2-ton AP has a durability of 2 tons or higher. And then the character with that same durability of 2 tons or higher decides to throw a punch against the person with the AP of 2 tons. But they get one shot into oblivion, even though they have the AP of 2 tons. What I just demonstrated to you was that there's a person with a specific attack potency, and then we use that as a striking strength feat against someone with a durability level of building or higher. But then that person with building or higher durability is able to output the same energy as the person with that attack potency. But because they only have the attack potency or striking strength and not the durability, we're able to see the person with the higher durability out of the two is able to win. Even though that they would have the same attack potency / striking strength. So this is how we use striking strength and then correlate it with durability. Striking strength is the already achieved metrics or the arguments that we use for attack potency, and then striking strength is what we'd use to map on to, say, durability, as well as consistency. We use these 3 metrics here to find consistency for your ability to attack as well as your ability to defend. And then we use a separate metric to explain whether or not you'd be able to hurt or not hurt the person you're trying to hit with the poor durability. In this case, it'd be speed. So, you know that poor fellow I just told you about with no durability but with 2 tons of building attack potency / striking strength? Well, what if the person who is able to ignore those attacks is only able to move at subsonic speeds, but the person with no durability has like a speed level of sub-relativistic or faster than light? Now I just gave you something else to talk about. What ended up just happening was that the person with no durability who's able to output those 2 tons of energy is now able to speed blitz the person with a higher durability than their attack potency. Meaning over time the person with that attack potency is able to win the fight. But then here's another problem. Speed is not the end all be all either. You know how I talked about durability and how that person is able to ignore those 2 tons of attacks? Well, here's the thing. You're able to ignore those attacks up to a certain point. Like, say you're building level, and you get hit by attacks that are somewhat stronger than you. Say, I don't know, 2 or 3 times your strength level for, say, building level. Well, in durability, there's another metric called stamina. In stamina, it's more or less your ability to continue fighting. It could take the form of how long you're able to fight for, how much damage you're able to withstand before you fall over, or how many attacks you're able to output before you get tired. So, say you have the person who got hit by an attack that's 2 to 3 times their durability. Well, because they have a massive amount of something called stamina, they're able to take a lot of attacks that are stronger than themselves because they have stamina. Durability is simply the attacks they're able to take. Stamina is the amount of attacks you're able to take within your own tier or above your tier, or other things we'd analyze when we talk about the metric of stamina. Now, all of these concepts that I just explained to you, we have to map that on to Superman being able to destroy universes or greater. So, I just gave you two extremes of the coin. You have the series itself, and then you have essentially what we take as power scaling logic. And then we have to apply that to DC. Okay, so now here's question number 3. How do we do it? So here's eventually where we arrive at the crux of the video. So now everything I just explained for power scaling and then in fiction itself, here's the thing. We have to reconcile the two. We have to see what forms of power scaling from attack potency or striking strength or speed, and then, hacks. We have to be able to apply that to Superman. Because, see, here's the thing. Superman, he fought Brainiac before, and he used something called, what was it? The retcon punch? No, it wasn't the retcon punch. It was a punch Superman used on Brainiac, but it hurt a bunch of other Brainiacs in other timelines. So what I just explained for speed, now we have to use Superman hurting Brainiac as a way to show that under the definitions of power scaling, it would be something called immeasurable speed. Immeasurable speed is when you're able to outright ignore time itself. Time no longer applies to you. Inaccessible speed means you're able to move in a space without time or in zero time. If I'm able to move, from point A to point B, it could be 100 feet, could be 500 feet, in a space with no time, and then I am a certain level of inaccessible speed. And then say you had an infinite distance, and then I cross that in 5 minutes or less, that would be something called infinite speed. And then below that would be your directly measurable forms of speed scaling. From human, superhuman, hypersonic, sub-relativistic, and MFTL+. And say we had 20 feet of MFTL+ for Superman. The definition of MFTL+ is 1,000 plus times the speed of light. So we can say reasonably that using the compatibility of speed scaling or speed power scaling with Superman having over 20 feet of moving on a metric that's faster than 1,000 plus times the speed of light, that would be considered MFTL+ Superman scaling. The same goes for striking strength of universal class or any attack potency range below that of universal. At that point is when we'll be able to arrive at where we can reconcile fiction from fictional power scaling. This is the consistency we have to reach. See, it kind of goes in a set system here. On the top, you have the fictional verse. And that's at the top of the hierarchy. The second part of the hierarchy is probably the lore of the verse itself. You have the verse and you have the lore of the verse. And then what would come in third would be how we're able to explain how strong these characters are. And then fourth in this hierarchy would probably be power scaling itself. Like, when we talk about fiction, there is a set value of where these things go. Power scaling has a certain worth and only a certain worth if you're able to use concepts that are compatible with what the series itself that you're measuring is saying. If I take Superman and he has 30 statements of just outright not being bound at all by speed, and then he would be an immeasurable speed character. At that point, it's no longer just using simple power scaling. We're now using what the verse itself is saying. We're comparing it to power scaling, and power scaling is telling us that by the rules of DC, because Superman would have 20 or 20 plus MFTL plus speed feats, but then say 30 or more measurable speed feats, at his highest level possible of speed, he would be immeasurable speed. Now, obviously, there's universal versions of Superman and irrelevant speed versions of Superman, but that's not the point here. The point here is that by the rules of power scaling, and then by the rules of DC, Superman is an immeasurable speed character. Several levels beyond other characters that are also what is considered as immeasurable speed. How long would we be doing this for? 16 minutes? So, okay. Anyway, so there isn't really much else to explain, so I'll go ahead and sum it up for you in the end. We have 3 questions or 3 subjects we have to look at when we want to create consistency for power scaling, or fictional power scaling. The first concept we have to look at is the character / the fictional verse directly. Then after we look at what we're supposed to analyze, then we look on the other side of the spectrum, which is the second concept, which is power scaling. Power scaling includes mathematics, comparison of characters who are able to hurt and resist each other, and characters who are able to move around each other. And then also characters who use specific abilities on each other. All of these concepts are within the concept of power scaling. What we then have to do is, out of those 2 concepts, we have to create a third concept, which is how do all of these things come together. And from what I explained to you, Superman is able to destroy solar systems, to be able to destroy the entire universe, and that he's able to move faster than light, to outright moving, from being outright faster than light to outright ignoring time itself. With some versions of Superman being outright irrelevant speed directly. So, that's mostly it. Anyway, so if you guys want me to do more how-to content, let me know, and I'll do more stuff with you guys. Because, tomorrow or sometime after tomorrow, I'm getting with my buddy Debater and my buddy Corn to explain arguments I don't really like and why I don't like those arguments. So be on the lookout for that too. Anyway, if you guys like my content, please let me know, and I'll do more of this stuff. Anyway, my name is Nothing Important here, and I'll let y'all go. Bye.